In Indian polity, we are going to discuss about prohibition writ. Here, prohibition means inactivate or to stop the particular work. Okay, it means to forbid. So basically this writ is issued by the higher court to the lower courts. Okay, so this writ is issued by the higher courts against the lower courts or tribunals. Okay, so the main important thing is to prevent from exceeding its jurisdiction. Okay, so here jurisdiction means each and every court has their own jurisdiction. It means own limits and own authority. Okay, so they cannot go away from their authority. They cannot behave out of their jurisdiction. Okay, it means they have their own limits. So by using their limits and they cannot go outside from the jurisdiction. For example, AP High Court have the jurisdiction. For example, it cannot give judgment out of its territorial jurisdiction. Okay, it means it can behave within the jurisdiction. It can give the judgments within the AP's jurisdiction. Okay, so this is the jurisdiction of a high court. Okay, so whenever high court behaves like out of the jurisdiction or excess of the jurisdiction, so the Supreme Court will pass a prohibition writ. Okay, it means whenever lower courts or tribunals behaving or doing something beyond their limit or beyond their authority, so in that time the superior court or higher courts will pass the prohibition writ to inactivate that particular work which is doing by the lower courts. Okay, whenever the judgment is a violation to a law or the judgment is unconstitutional, so the superior or higher courts will pass the prohibition writ. Okay, so it means according to Article 32, Supreme Court is the higher court. Okay, in that time high courts are the lower courts. Okay, whenever comes to the Article 226, high courts are the higher courts and superior courts, and district courts are the lower courts, and tribunals are the lower courts to the higher courts. Okay, so here the prohibition is always against the mandamus. Okay, it means prohibition and mandamus are opposite to each other, because in the previous class we discussed about mandamus. It means the courts will command the public official to perform their official duties whenever they fail to perform. Okay, here mandamus means they are activating the public officials in the point of their official duties, but in the prohibition they are prohibiting to stop the work that a particular point of view. Okay, so it means prohibition and mandamus are opposite to each other. Okay, and one more thing is the prohibition writ is against the judicial or quasi judicial authorities. Okay, see the picture. So first picture is lower court. So by listening to all the facts and arguments of the lower court, so the prohibition writ is passed by the higher court. Okay, so here higher court will say, hey lower court, we forbid you from deciding anything on this matter. It means they are forbidding or they are prohibiting that particular work which is going in the lower courts. Okay, so whenever there is a violation to the law or unconstitutional or something beyond their authority, so the higher court will pass the prohibition writ. Okay, so to uphold the constitution or to uphold the law. Okay, and the writ of prohibition is not available against the administrative authorities. Here administrative authorities means district collectors. Okay, so the prohibition writ is not against the district collectors. Okay, and legislative bodies also. Okay, legislative bodies means lawmaking bodies. That's why this prohibition writ is not work out against the legislative bodies. It means lawmaking bodies, and this prohibition writ is not against the private individuals also. Okay, it means the prohibition writ is only against the judicial and quasi judicial authorities only. So there is no way to against the private individuals and legislative bodies. In the same way administrative authorities also. Okay.